Hey Homeworthy, I'm Claire. Welcome to my home in Texas. Come on in.
This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hey y'all, my name is Claire Zinnecker and I'm an interior designer based out of Austin, Texas, and I live just outside of Austin in the country. And welcome to my home. So the story behind this house is that I actually was living in New York for almost a year and was itching to invest in some land outside of the city. I was just missing the feeling of just being able to get outside, feel inspired, take a breath. And I knew that I wanted that for myself, and I wanted that for if I have a family in the future. I wanted a place where kids could grow up and just run along a river. So I bought the dirt in 2018 and didn't have any more money to do anything, so I planned to just let it be as it is. And of course, best laid plans. I was with my aunt one day and she just casually was like, look at this house I found on Facebook Marketplace. Too bad I don't have a place to move it to. And I looked at it and was like, well, I have land. And I went and saw the house the next day, immediately fell in love with it, and I wrote the check with literally no idea how to move a house, what the heck I was doing, where I was gonna find the money. My plan was to invest in a piece of property and not live here full time. And then I met my husband. He was living in Colorado. I somehow batted my eyelashes and talked him into picking up and moving here to help me with this home. COVID hit. We were not working very much in Austin, because who was? Coming out here every day to work on the house, and it was just becoming a money suck. So we decided to rent out the home in Austin, pack up, and move out here in a construction site. Lived on an air mattress with bugs everywhere because we didn't have windows. And somehow he stuck around and married me. And now we have a kid. We live here full time. So again, best laid plans. Welcome to my foyer. This space was a space that actually probably still looks like we haven't done a lot to it, but we have done so much to this one little area. And it was a space that completely paralyzed me with design decisions. Honestly, I wish I could talk to whoever lived in here first, because I cannot for the life of me understand this room. The material on each wall is different. The front doors are different colors. I don't know if it was two spaces put together at one point, but one was yellow, one was blue, and I was completely unsure of myself with this area. So I let it sit for a long time until we decided to get married here, and that kicked me into gear. And I had a plan to just paint everything white. And once we put the primer on this wall, I hated it. And so I was like, it's always been moody. It just needs to be moody. I wanted people to walk in and it to feel like you're transported into this era. Maybe it had never been touched before. And I really just leaned into that. But when I painted this other side was a beautiful wood, and it had this amazing wallpaper that we uncovered. When we got the house, the wall was only as thick as this beadboard. So you would touch this wall and it would go like this. So we were like, we need to shore it up in some way. And the space wasn't centered. So I ended up taking this entire wall down, moving it over a foot, and building it back up. And when we did that, we uncovered this beautiful wallpaper that was hidden actually behind this wainscot chair rail. So we moved those boards up so that you could always see this wallpaper. And I didn't want to paint it. And so I just decided to have this space be symmetrical, but also very asymmetrical in color. And so when you see it, you have a beautiful deep green and then a very raw, with the wallpaper falling off, historic feel about it. Maybe even a little haunted feeling. And I also did that to the ceiling, which my husband did not approve of, but there was wallpaper on all ceilings and walls with cheesecloth, and we got rid of a lot of it, but I could not bear to get rid of it on the ceiling in here. So we kept it. It's falling off even though I've stapled it up, and again, it feels kind of spooky and haunted, and I love it. So yeah, this space is what it is. This is a little bench I found for our wedding that I reupholstered. I actually, on this floor only, when we were pulling up the linoleum, it was lined in newspaper. So I wouldn't let anyone touch this room but me. And I pulled all the flooring up myself, and I saved all of the wallpaper. And it dated from 1920s to about 1960. And I took some of it and I framed it. So this is that wallpaper. This is the newspaper that was on the floor. This is a crossword puzzle from 1933 that is framed in another wallpaper from a room. This is also from this floor. I would say I'm a minimalist hoarder is what I would like to say. Everything at least looks good, even though maybe it doesn't work or serve a purpose, but it makes sense in this house. And I found this upholstery. Again, I tried to mimic the feel of the wallpaper that was in this space so that it just feels very gathered. I bought about 3 rugs and none of them seemed right. Again, I kept leaning into this light colored feel and it just didn't make sense. So I found this deep, dark vintage Ushak that I think is beautiful, even though it shows all my animal hair. And yeah, everything is just a very lovely collected thing. We put these pewter sconces in. These are the original transoms with the original lead glass still in them. This chandelier I found in a client's house that they were tearing down. So everything definitely tells a story and gives me an excuse for being a collector. And this is my wedding bouquet. I dried it. I can't let go of any of my wedding flowers. It's a problem. This is a little piece I found in Round Top that I love. And this was my great-grandmother's. My mom's cousins actually shipped it to me from Minnesota when I got this house. And it's perfect here. All right, and now we are walking into the main hall, I guess. It serves as a little seating area and also dining room. I liked the idea of going from this dark space into this very open, very bright, very light-filled room. It pulls you through, and it's a kind of a shocking transition, which I think is really fun. This was, I guess, the original porch. You can see the ceilings are different up here, and the walls actually all along this wall was exterior siding. So we pulled all of that off and put in new sheetrock, which also is just primer because someday I will lime wash it. Just haven't had time yet, which is cobbler's kids never have shoes, right? So this was the first piece I bought for the house before the house was even really the house. And Adam and I bought it on my birthday. I think it was like $200, which is crazy. And I love it so much. And it houses my collection of random things. So I always have fresh flowers. We actually have a cut flower garden as well. So we actually use this all the time. I've collected every jar in the world, as you can see, things that, you know, I probably will never use, but things that I use all the time. And then I also have an affinity for silver. So I have a little bit of collection of that as well. And, you know, just bits and bobs, things that were in the house when we bought it that I haven't used yet. You know, this is one of the door latches on the door that we haven't put back on yet. And, you know, I have, let's see what else I have in here. Gosh, it's kind of embarrassing. There are tons of fossils at the river. This was a fossil that we found. It's wild. These chairs, I found at Round Top. Some of my greatest things came from Round Top, and they're just my size, and they're so comfortable. I didn't even have to reupholster them, and I got a really good deal on them. And they've moved around a lot. They've gone from our little sunroom to over here, and I think I like here the best. And then this is obviously a vintage frame, and this is a photo that I just kind of stuck in here of me and Adam in our wedding clothes in our field with our farm creatures. So this door goes to our guest bathroom, and we had it stripped, but it's not as raw as the rest of the doors because I kind of loved a bit of that paint still on it, even though it's not chipping off, it's smooth on there. And this, I think an old boss gave me, and I should rewire it and actually put it on, but right now it's just decor. This is a French mirror that I got a really good deal at Round Top on, and it's perfect. This space, I was gonna have shelves on it when shelves in it when I designed it, and then it's kind of just become this changeable art moment. Sometimes I have art, sometimes I have our Christmas stockings, and now we have this mirror. This is our second bath, and I love it. It's my little color gem in a house that's pretty neutral. So we did a Roman clay in here with Portola paints and did it ourselves. It's a process, but a fun one. I love what it did to the space. We kept the ceilings raw in here, and then, I mean, it's a pretty simple piece. I found a old dry sink, and I converted it into the vanity in here, and gosh, most everything in here is found or vintage. I DIY'd. I took 2 pieces of a lamp together to make this sconce. This is an old French mirror, and then this shower is all done with Riyadh tile, and I had my husband DIY this shower glass. I bought all the pieces, figured out how to make it to look like it's a very high-end custom brass and glass shower partition, but he actually did it all himself, so very impressed with it. I'm an interior designer, which is interesting because you want your home to be a portfolio for the aesthetic you do for your clients. And as much as I love this home, I don't think that it is necessarily the aesthetic that I do for my clients. I do a lot more European modern, but I do lean historical, which I think this does show, although it's a bit more farmhouse. But it was an interesting identity crisis because I had so much fun with this house. I love this house. I never planned to live full-time in this home. So what is now a bit of a brand identity is also not. But I've learned to just lean into it and have a lot of fun with this home. So I leaned into whatever you want to call it, cottagecore, farmhouse, New England, and I sourced most pieces in here vintage. One, again, because of budget, but also because I just really wanted to lean into the story that this house tells and kind of show people that you can still live a modern life with repurposed pieces and have a lot of fun with those and have a lot of fun with the texture. So looking around, maybe some lighting, our bed and our sofa, and some of the cabinetry is new, but everything else is thrifted, vintage, antique. A lot of the big stuff that we did in the house, besides, you know, the obvious We had to put a new roof on because we had to demo the roof to move the house. We had to pull all the 4 layers of linoleum off the floors. We pulled all the sheetrock off the walls. We pulled all the sheetrock off the ceiling. So those were really big, necessary things. HVAC, never had HVAC before. But apart from that, I really tried to honor the existing footprint of the house while also making it work for the needs of nowadays. I didn't want to do a modern open floor plan in this house. And something else that was really interesting was that there was at least 1 door or window in every single wall. So there was literally no place to put a bed. So we had to kind of rethink things like that, which means moving windows, closing in doors, and just making it a functional, practical home, but still honoring the original history. We tried to find replications of trim where we could. We kept a lot of the wood. We kept the original floor. I tried to not touch floor and ceiling in the entire space. So then we have the dining room. I always said I wanted a big, long dining table right here. And so I have it. And we use this table for everything. We office here sometimes. We have big dinners here. We throw our stuff here. And it's a great French piece, and it just gets better with age. The chairs are collected from Round Top as well. And again, you can see the living room, you get the light from there, you get the light from these back doors, which actually, these doors we found in our barn before we moved it, and the guy just gave them to us. They're huge, they're beautiful. They're as old as this house probably. They came from Kyle, Texas. And we sort of had to cut them down, get the rot off to fit them into our house for these lovely back doors to our deck. This piece is a Round Top find, and I love it dearly. It's a French piece as well, and I am a huge fan of mixing wood types and mixing wood colors in a space. I don't think you should be afraid of it. As you can see, I have a million different types of wood, and in my opinion, they all work together. I think as long as tonally they make sense, then you can just have fun with it and lean into it, and that sort of collected look is definitely the look we're going for here. And then, yeah, this kind of becomes this sort of transition from dining room out to the outside. So we obviously have catch-alls to house all of our outdoor needs, gardening tools, things like that. So that's why I got this piece here, and it is very full of gardening stuff because I love gardening. And it is definitely a collection of things. I love a display book, a coffee table book. Can't have too many of them. This is some random beautiful, I guess a light fixture that I found at Round Top that I never rewired. I just treated it as a sculpture, and then I hung a bunch of little bouquets off of it. When we got married, we didn't have a bridal party, but we had all of our friends' children in the wedding. And so these are all just the little bouquets from the little boys and girls that were in the wedding, and they're all dried, hanging. A French mirror from Round Top. My whole life is from Round Top, basically. For the kitchen, I wanted to open that up a bit more, again, so that people can feel very connected to the kitchen and the other spaces. But again, I cased it. Eventually, we'll probably put glass up there in the transom to make it still feel like the rest of the home historically. In here is what they would call an unfitted kitchen. Which is apparently trending right now, but for me it was just a practical budget thing, so love when that happens. We had one bank of cabinetry that is obviously practical, purposeful, new, but everything else is a bit of a hodgepodge of cupboards, Hoosier cabinets, and just anything I could find to fit necessary kitchen items. We did open shelving in here. Again, I wasn't planning on living here full time, so this was kind of like a fun vacation home. And practically speaking, I think uppers would be helpful in here, but I do love a good styled moment, so I make it work. I really leaned into the historic feel, and I found a vintage stove and fridge off Facebook Marketplace, drove hours to get them. My dad had to help get them out of the people's homes, and then I found someone to restore it. So we cook on this every day, and it actually works really well. I found this sink in the barn before we moved it, and he sold it to me for a couple $100. And I built this base that it sits on. I can't believe it's still standing because I did it very haphazardly one day because I was determined. Everything was to the studs, and I was like, the sink must be in the house. So I built it one afternoon, and I lugged it in myself and put a sink skirt up, and it's served its purpose really well. We put in these windows. So the original kitchen had one window here and then one window there, and I found these windows in an antique shop and put them all in so you can have a view of the land and the river, and then took halves of them to create those there. I found this island. I get a lot of questions about it. I found this island on Facebook Marketplace for probably like $75, and it's perfect. We use it all the time. This cupboard is one of my favorite finds. I got this at Round Top, and I store my collection of random jars and vessels that I use, and all our cups go in there, and it works out perfectly. Who needs a pantry? I cut these from our olive tree today. We have amazing gardens outside, and so I can forage and use one of my many vessels that I have a problem with collecting. And we always have fresh flowers, whether it be greenery or zinnias, cosmos, something from the cut flower garden. This piece of marble, when I was just starting out, just out of school, I was gifted a remnant of a piece of marble. It was longer than this and bigger. I was gonna make it into a dining table. I was very excited, and my carpenter broke it. It was very tragic, but it was super expensive in my mind. And so I've carried it with me from every house, and I love it. I love a piece of marble just as a styling piece. And again, I think the more you layer, the more lived in something looks, and the less you care about it being perfect, the better it is. And really the more warm and inviting it is for someone. I'm kind of just wowed that we're living in this home that has been here standing for so long and is still standing and is beautiful. The 2x4s are actually 2 inches by 4 inches. The wood is all longleaf pine. So I just feel really proud that I have a piece of Austin history. I feel proud of how we've honored it, and I just feel really grateful for the challenges that this home brings, as well as the benefits. My husband and I love having people out to our home because it serves as a reminder of what a beautiful, unique experience we have here. And I think the one that I've gotten more than once is about the home, and I think it's about the land. But people kind of say, like, I feel like I can breathe here, and that makes me really happy. So moving into what I guess is our living room, sunroom. Honestly, I think something that I want to do in the future is make this living room a bit more of a living room, maybe a bigger sofa, maybe get rid of this door. It was our primary way to get out, but we've changed things a little bit, and it's a little unnecessary. So making this door into a solid wall, giving us a sectional, but for now it serves its purpose, and honestly, it's usually just a playroom full of baby toys everywhere. So, you know, houses just have to kind of grow with whatever stage you're in. And right now we're in the baby toy stage. This was a second porch add-on that they enclosed at some point. So it also has a porch ceiling, but it's tacked on. This part of the house, actually the house mover didn't want to move. He charged me $4,000 more to move it, but for me it was worth it because of the square footage that it gave us. And these windows were all here already. So I love this space. It's just like not very fun in the summer, obviously, but it is just the brightest, most inviting room. Always full of light everywhere, which is really fun. And you sit here and you have a great view of the dining room and the kitchen. So again, it all feels very connected. When we have gatherings, everyone can be in multiple places and they can still communicate with each other. A question I get asked the most when I post a photo of this space is where I got these window treatments from. They are just a beautiful natural woven wood material, and we did a top-down, bottom-up treatment, which means basically that, you know, you could have complete privacy down here and you can still see the sky, because, you know, as much as I wanted a bit of privacy, a bit of sun blockage, I didn't want to cut off the light and the sky and the view of the trees that these windows give. So I brought in a woven wood instead of a linen in here to, again, that sort of sunroom feel. And I'm a sucker for a seagrass and a jute rug. Just throw them down, they hold up against anything, and you know, they're pretty easy to replace if you need. Off of the foyer, we have our primary bedroom. Everything in this space besides the bed is antique, vintage, repurposed. So really had fun, again, collecting things for that. And also, fun fact about the house is that we don't have closets, which makes for a fun time for storage. And we had to be really intentional with the furniture pieces and the cabinetry that we put in to each space. Everything serves a purpose and everything is pretty full with stuff. I have a chair problem, a slight chair addiction, and I personally think it's a great addiction to have because everyone needs a chair to throw a bunch of stuff on. So we have one on each side of our beds for that purpose. This was so tiny. If you saw my husband, he could never actually sit in it. He's very tall. But gosh, I think this is, you know, this is a bit of an East Lake design. And I found this just at an antique store, I think for about $20, and fell in love with it. And then the art is a vintage frame that I found, and then it's just a collection of, again, my wedding flowers that I put together almost like a bouquet to preserve them. The nightstands, it's very hard to find good antique pairs of nightstands. So I love these. They're pine, and they're really small, which I love. They don't take up a lot of space. They don't block the window very much. I went with the linen headboard in here. We have a lot of wood going on. I wanted to kind of take a break from that, and I love a cozy linen headboard. I like to keep my bedding pretty neutral, and I always have some kind of coverlet or a drop cloth because inevitably a dog will jump on my bed, and this way maybe they won't get my bedding dirty. So everything is very practical, even if it doesn't look like it is in my house. The windows, I love my window treatments. It was such a game changer for us. It doesn't look like it when you're outside, but we actually do have neighbors in somewhat close proximity. So I wanted a bit of privacy. I wanted it to feel really soft and luxurious because, again, we have so much wood in this space. So I wanted to do floor to ceiling, sheers, and then Romans as like a double privacy. We never close them though, so I don't know how private they actually are, but I love a layered window treatment. And here is our main bathroom. It's huge and I love it so much. It was really hard to figure out placing two bathrooms in the center of this house. So what I ended up doing is taking one room and dividing it into the two bathrooms. So behind me, on the other side of this wall, is the guest bath. And then that enabled me to put in the big shower I wanted, the nice tub, and in here, huge vanity, which I love for the storage aspect, of course, but on the day-to-day, what I didn't know when I was designing this is that it also serves as a great changing table. So that is usually what it looks like when we're not filming. And it's great. Change the baby here. My husband and I each have our own very separate spaces. This is more wedding flowers that I framed in an antique frame. Medicine cabinets in the mirrors that we DIY'd because storage. And we did a quartz counter in here. I ended up working with a quartz company to provide all of the material for that, which I love. White oak. These floors and the bedroom floors were terrible. They were like I said, a dark red, brown, shiny, and when we sanded them, we had to be really careful because they were very much on their last wear layer. And when we did that, they were really orange, and I was not sure what we were gonna do. We did a ton of mixes, kind of like a clear coat mixed with a bit of a whitewash to get this beautiful, I think beautiful, light wood feel. It really cut the orange. They're the only floors we've redone in the whole space. Everything else is a little bit of a splinter. In here also, some fun facts are that here is some original trim that we were able to preserve. This is a vintage door that I found. We DIY'd this paneling all the way around as well. We have a vine that lives in our house, which my husband hates, but I love so much. It's like a jungle in here. And we ended up just doing a shower, like a piece of linen that I sewed for our shower curtain, again, to save money. There's a lot of saving money in this house because the stuff you don't see behind the walls cost a lot of money. The ceilings everywhere are 11 or 12 feet, I think. And I don't even know if I should admit this, but it's just primer on these walls. I had grand plans to do a lime wash, and here we are. I had a kid instead. So yeah, we use this bathtub multiple times a day with the baby. I love it so much. And again, it's that sort of mix of old and new in here to, you know, do a nod to the old and the original, but also new cabinetry because we live here. Growing up, I wanted to be a veterinarian until I was about 5. And then I found out you had to put animals to sleep, and I was like, game over. So I transitioned quickly into wanting to be an architect. My uncle in LA is an architect, and I have always just really greatly admired him. And I think when I got just a little bit older, he, you know, was watching me. I did a lot of art, I built a lot of things, I painted a lot, and he said, I think you probably would love interior design. And I must have been in grade school, and I said, okay, I'm gonna be an interior designer. And I didn't try it out before I went to college for it, which luckily I ended up liking it. But yeah, I one-track mind, went to college for interiors, graduated with a degree in it, and I've never looked back. Off of the foyer on the opposite side of our bedroom is the guest bedroom, now turned nursery. I love this room. This room has to-the-floor windows, which when I got this house, they had a window unit here, and then I think they had just boarded up part of this. So I didn't even know that the windows went all the way down, which was a very fun discovery. But we had to kind of remake the windows to make them work. I tucked her crib in here, but we kept the bed as well. I slept in here some when she was a little baby, but now we don't really use this bed. And I kind of go back and forth on if we keep it or what we do with this space. So this little wardrobe piece was gifted to us by my mom's friend, and it houses all of her clothes. That and a dresser is all we have because, again, no closets. There was a door here in the middle of this wall that we had to get rid of so that we could have a bed wall. Adam and I did this wall ourselves, and we just loved the colors that came when we started piecing this together, and we also worked really hard on it. So we decided to keep it and not paint it, which I love it. I go back and forth on if I want to wallpaper it. We sealed it just so that there's no paint chipping off of it, of course. But again, it's a bit of a nod because we ended up painting this ceiling, and I always like to keep a little bit of original in each room. All right, so next up is my office. I work from home, and so I really work all around this house, but when I can have a moment of quiet, I work in here. This was a completely dark wood space, and it honestly was, apart from the entry foyer, it was the last room we touched. It was a dumping ground for everything. It was so full I couldn't even walk in here. I couldn't wrap my head around this one. So when we finally decided to tackle it, it was a fun one. It was a very hard one. All of this wood was really shiny, dark stain. So I had to come in with a brush and strip it all by hand, which took hours and hours and days. And then I was really torn about painting any of the wood in here, but my office I needed bright and, you know, inspiring. So I did kind of a middle ground where I painted all the shiplap. So I left all the wainscoting natural wood for a nod to that history, and then I left the shiplap on the ceiling also. This is a vintage pendant that I got off of Etsy, and yeah, we had a door into the kitchen here that we closed up. I started to remove this little built-in cabinet, and it broke my heart to do so, so I put it back, and it just makes sense. It should always be there. And slowly, I'm just trying to make sense of this being a design office. I have a lot of samples, I have a lot of products, so it's a lot about where to store things, display things, and actually work here. I found this amazing piece before my wedding. This was around Top Find as well. It was massive, and we needed something really big for this wall. It was all a light wood, as you can see, so I decided to be really bold and push myself out of my comfort zone, and I painted it all a glossy black and then left the insides raw wood, and I love how it turned out. It is packed to the brim of samples for projects, and then I do a mix of like displaying fun things, but also I have practical client samples, working client files here as well. But it's a great backdrop for my Zoom calls. The word home to me, as just a human and also as a designer, is a space that uniquely and specifically captures the person who lives in it. I always say every space tells a story, and I really try to do that in every home that I design. I try to make it a space that feels like the people living in it, a space that, despite if it's high-end or if it's budget, people feel comfortable being in it, and a space that can wear with time and be actually lived in.